Hello, welcome to Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Khaleel Ward. On today's podcast, I want to talk about the NBA. I know things were hectic last week with the trade deadline and a lot of podcasts were coming out, and I just wanted to take in all the information and then, just give my thoughts about it later on. Don't worry, I have a movie podcast and Apex Legends podcast coming out soon. But let's talk about the NBA. I enjoyed the trade deadline. I always say shake it up. I like seeing moves. I like seeing teams really go for it, especially the teams at the top. I like seeing guys in new situations. A new team can help them thrive. It was good seeing Markelle Fultz get moved, and I hope he doesn't have I hope he bounces back. He doesn't have all that pressure in Orlando. I hope they embrace him, and I hope he comes back. I want to see him this season, but if it's not this season, I just hope he gets to move forward with his career. He's really young, and it was a lot of pressure in Philly. You know how those fans can be, but it's good to see him in a new situation. I thought the best move was probably Mirotic to the Bucks. It just helps them space the floor more for Giannis. Coach Buck always likes the shooting, and I think they will be the favorites in the East. I also like the move for the Sixers, adding Tobias Harris. Give them another player who can handle the ball, run pick and roll, another big body, great shooter from three-point range. The Lakers, I know they added shooters, because LeBron works well with shooters, but I really like Zubac. I thought he was a good, solid player when he got in there. A big body, soft hands, good touch around the basket. But it's good for him that he gets to stay in LA. He don't have to move anywhere really. But the Lakers didn't make any power moves like we thought they were. But that's under understanding considering the way it went down with Anthony Davis. I want to talk about Magic Johnson real quick. He needs to stop talking. His interviews need to be short, need to be scripted. He says too much. He gets fined for tampering. He brings up things that's unnecessary. The whole thing about Ben Simmons this past weekend was unwarranted, unnecessary. He didn't have to say anything about that. And then he does everything with like a smile, like everything's going to be cool. Yeah, we know he's Magic, but that was Magic the player. Right now he's in a different role and things aren't working out for him. People want to say that he signed LeBron, but LeBron wasn't a Magic signing, okay? LeBron was going to the Lakers because he wanted to go to the Lakers. In hindsight, the Lakers should have traded everything for Paul George, but, Magic want to do his winking and all this stuff and think he's going to get what he wants because it's the Lakers and because he's Magic, but he needs to really buckle down. We don't need to hear from him. If they're going to fire Luke Walton, after the season, fire him, get somebody in there, and make some moves. Get a good deal going or something. Because right now it's just a lot of talking and no real actions being done. Back to the Eastern Conference. Again, the Bucks are my favorite. Giannis is my MVP. He's been playing at a high level all season long. The Bucks have been number one in the East all season long. Like they started out 7-0. They had a couple of losing streaks here and there, but they sit atop the East. Giannis has been amazing. Only 33 minutes a game, but he's putting up crazy numbers. He's putting up MVP numbers. Again, he's not a great shooter, but he's taking the shots. Unlike Ben Simmons in Philly, and I think Philly has the talent, but they might struggle in the playoffs. Just like last year with Ben Simmons not being able to take a jump shot. Like, if you watch the game against the Lakers, LeBron was at the free throw line guarding Simmons. Sometimes in the paint, like just bumping shooters that was trying to come off screens, bumping them as well. And Simmons was just standing at the top of the key. I'm not saying he should take a three-pointer, but he should be able to just dribble into a pull-up jump shot at the free throw line. And even when he was getting to the basket against LeBron, he was missing his shot. So I believe that's going to hamper them in the playoffs. The Celtics, we know they have great talent. If they can piece it all together, they can make a run to the finals because, they have Kyrie who has the championship experience and all that. Brad is a great coach. They have the depth. People minutes might be cut in the playoffs, but they have a lot of bodies they can throw at people, especially if they're battling injuries. I'm surprised with the Pacers. Without Oladipo, they won 6 in a row. Including that beat down against the Lakers. Right now, they sit at third. I don't think they're going to hold at third. I don't think they're going to stay there. They might drop to like fifth. But it's good to see them playing hard. And, they picked up Wes Matthews, so that's another shooter that can help them. But they're playing hard. They're playing smart. They're playing the right way. And they're still delivering. The Raptors are another team who can, of course, make it out the East. But Kawhi has to hit another level. Can he hit that other level? We haven't seen it yet. We've seen him, be dominant. We've seen his team be dominant. And we know they have playoff experience. But it seems like they always banged up going into the playoffs, or something happens in the playoffs. Right now they have Kawhi, who's a champion, and he's been there before, so he can carry them to the promised land. But it'll be interesting to see. Of course, the most surprising team, I guess, in the league is the Nets, and it's good to see them winning. It's good to see them fighting. Their record could be better, as many games they've blown in the fourth quarter, but it's good to see just the fight in them, after everything they've been through with all the bad trades and no draft picks and all that. So it's really fun to see the Nets competing and making a playoff push. In the West, the Warriors are the Warriors. They're fun to watch sometimes. Other times they look bored. But when they get it going, it's like, wow. Just everyone. DeMarcus looks fine. He's coming into his own. And I think they're going to just keep blowing teams out, essentially, going into the second half of the season. The team to watch out for is the Blazers. Right now, fourth in the West, 33-23. They lost 2 in a row. But this is the hit or miss time for Portland. Last season, they were 31-26 going into the break. And they had a home game against the Warriors. They beat the Warriors, went into All-Star break, and they eventually won 13 in a row. And, people were, hyping them up, and they got swept in the first round of the playoffs. But they won 13 in a row to start the second half of the season. This year, they have a home game against the Warriors before All-Star, but then they play 7 of their next 8 games are on the road. It's like an Eastern road trip. They play the Sixers, they play the Celtics, they play the Raptors, they play the Nets. It's tough games. So it was going to be interesting to see what Portland does in the second half of the season, because if they keep dropping these games, they might fall out of the playoffs. The way the West is set up, all it takes is a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and you almost out of the playoffs. The Spurs right now, 4-game losing streak. Sacramento won 2 in a row. They in the 8th seed. So watch out for Portland in the second half of the season. Oklahoma City, I think they can move up to the 2nd seed, but Paul George just has to continue to play like he's been playing. Of course, we've seen Paul George play at a high level before. Not this high and this consistent, but we've seen him hit that level before the All-Star break, before it, when he's dominating games on both ends of the floor. And then in the second half of the season, he kind of falls off. His shooting falls off, So if he can keep this up, I think the Thunder can get to the 2nd seed. I don't know. I don't think they can catch the Warriors, but they can get to the 2nd seed. If they keep going to Paul George more so in late in the game rather than Westbrook taking all the shots, they'll be able to close out games more often and push for that 2nd seed. And everybody's favorite team, the Lakers, right now they are in 10th, 28-28. They have a tough schedule. A lot of national TV games. I think like 13 games on national TV. Of course, because it's the second half. They have to dominate the lesser opponents. They have games against Memphis, against New Orleans, Dallas. So they have to beat those teams. And it's going to be, in March, they have 3 very important home games against the Clippers, the Nuggets, and the Celtics. Those are 3 home games, national TV games. I think the Clippers game is on NBA TV, but the other 2 is like TNT, ESPN. And those are very important. Not only are they at home, but they're facing teams. The Clippers are ahead of them. The Nuggets are already in the playoffs. They beat them this season. And then you have the Celtics, another playoff team, but in the East. And those are three home games that they have in March before they go on the 5-game Eastern road trip. So I think those 3 games are going to be very important because they have to dominate against the lesser teams. Dominate, not just squeak out a win by 2 points. They have to dominate these teams. Really keep up the pace because they come out in first halves and they have a good pace to them and they can score. But then in the second half, things seem to fall apart a little bit. So they have to keep their foot on the gas, especially in the second half. Brandon Ingram has to get something going. He has to get that Kyle Kuzma confidence. It was great seeing Kuz go off on the weekend, but sometimes Brandon Ingram it looks like he's just out there to play. And sometimes he looks like Andrew Wiggins, and that's not a compliment at all. So if the Lakers can dominate against the lesser teams and play better against the playoff teams, they have games against Houston again, and I don't think they've beaten the Rockets this year. They have one more game against the Rockets. I know they play the Warriors again. Teams like the Jazz and Nuggets, they have to beat these teams because they're playoff teams. And we'll see. It should be an interesting second half for them. Hopefully LeBron is, fully healthy. He takes it easy during All-Star. He gets his body back to where it needs to be, and he can carry them into the playoffs because the playoffs is just more fun with LeBron. I know it's a good story for the 8th seed in the West. If the Kings make it or something like that, it's a cool story. But you may hate LeBron, but you want to see him in the playoffs, especially if it's the 8th seed against the Warriors in the first round. That's going to be must-see TV. And last but not least, the All-Star draft, All-Star game. I thought the draft, it was cool. I watched it, after it was on. And it was cool just having the guys, chop it up, crack some jokes. Giannis with a good tampering joke. Seeing them, they looked like they was taking it kind of serious. They was scratching off names and, making a draft. And it was good. But I think they should, and it was, the first time they televised the draft. So, of course, there's room for improvements. This was a good first iteration. But I want to see going forward, not necessarily next year, but I want them to do the draft not right before the game, but maybe that Friday. Everybody's going, heading to the All-Star destination. And that Friday night, we have the World versus U.S. game, which, nobody really cares about that much. So how about that Friday before the World, before that game, you get all the guys in the room. They all at All-Star anyway. Have the captains, sitting there. And then you have everybody in the crowd, chilling. Have somebody host it, and then you have them pick, and whoever they pick, they come sit next to the captain or sit behind the captain or whatever, and then you have them have a standoff and take a picture. It'll be something different, and you get the instant reactions about people when they're drafted, rather than going to them after a game or finding out on Twitter what their reaction was, stuff like that, because they were having fun with it, even with the trade. So just to have a more intimate setting, I guess, a more fun setting with the All-Star draft, it'd be cool. But it was good that they finally, that they televised the draft, and it's good to have the All-Star draft. There's other tweaks and stuff that they need to make, as far as replacements go, because it's not really East and West anymore, so they need to fix that. But that's, again, just my thoughts on what's been going on in the NBA lately. There's been some really good games. The Rockets and Thunder game was really good the other night. The Lakers and Celtics game was really good. So looking forward to All-Star weekend. Not really excited about the dunk contest. I really like the 3-point shootout. Maybe they could add some changes to that. Move the center rack out a little bit. Because everybody's be bombing from 40 feet anyway. So switch it up. In upcoming years for the 3-point shootout. But it's a lot of great shooters there. Dunk contest again. I don't know if it's gonna hold up. It usually disappoints, but my money's on Dennis Smith Jr. I thought he got robbed last year. I thought he had the best dunk last year. And the All-Star game, it'll be on, but I'm more so on Twitter to see what everybody's talking about and joking about, because it's a good Twitter game, for the NBA community. But thank you for listening. What was your favorite deadline move? Who's your favorite in the East? Favorite in the West? Who's your MVP? I know a lot of people are going to say Harden. But let me know, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening. Deuces.